everyone. Welcome back to Unarmored Talk podcast. For this special episode, had to make it special for I consider him not just a brother, but a close friend, family member. He's helped me out a lot when I developed Global Inspirational Speakers back in 2018. His name is Ellis Craig. What's going on, man?
What's up, Mario? Thank you for having me. I'm totally excited, and let's get into this, man. I love it.
Yeah, let's do it. But before I get into the official introduction of another guest who's willing to remove his armor to help other people, I want to give a shout out, a loyal fan shout out to Sergeant Major Ronald L. Green, the 18th Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps. He's been listening and watching on our Unarmored Talk podcast. Who knows when, but I want to say thank you for what you're doing out there. Thank you for what you are doing at Southwest Airlines. And everyone, if I would love for you guys to hit me up at host@unarmoredtalk.com. Give me your full name and maybe give me something you want me to mention about what you're doing out there, because I love the fans and you guys know the deal. Couldn't do it without the listeners and viewers supporting this show almost 3 years now. So thank you so much. Again, done with the admin stuff. Here we go. Ellis Craig, he is a Marine Corps, United States Marine Corps veteran. He was an 0311 for you folks who have never served in the military. That is a rifleman. He was in the infantry when he came in, did a few years, and have done a lot of things since then. You know, he's advising executives in that Washington, D.C. area, and he's doing a lot more. Give it up for United States Marine Corps veteran and my friend, Ellis Craig.
Thank you, Mario. Outstanding intro. Thank you so much. I'm excited to have a chat with you today and then talk to the community. Veterans has always been dear to my heart. So I want to kind of take off my armor and talk about some of my experiences after I transitioned out the Marine Corps, and just share that with the community and hope they get some insight and able to kind of continue to move forward in life to be the best that they can be after they get out. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Can you tell the listeners and viewers just a little bit about yourself, Ellis?
Yeah, so from Pennsylvania, my mom and dad, they were just middle-class family. My dad was actually a entrepreneur in his own right, really worked in the restaurant equipment arena. And my mother, she worked for the Women's Resource Center, which is a volunteer center in Scranton, PA. And she helped domestic violence victims and other folks like that. So I'm from a community and also a family that always believed in giving back. And I've seen that throughout my life. And so after high school, I decided to join the Marine Corps. And how I kind of got there, Mario, I saw a Army guy out there in uniform, right? And I walked up to him and I said, hey, I want to enlist in the Army. And so he brings me in and gives me brochures and we kind of talk and all that. And he said, okay, we'll set you up for the ASVAB and get you going. So I kind of took those brochures out and left. And on the way out the door, there was a Marine in dress blues. So I asked the guy, I said, hey, are you hiring? He goes, nah, we're not hiring. He said, go to Army, Air Force, but we're not hiring. So I just stood there, at 17 and a half-ish. And he said, but we are looking for, but I proceeded to walk off. Then he said, we are looking for a few good men. And he goes, are you up for the challenge? I said, well, what's the challenge? He goes, first getting through boot camp, So at the time I played sports, football, and things like that. So I was always up for challenges, right?
Right.
And so he said, hey, let's schedule a conversation, an interview, and we chatted. And I think the recruiter, of course, there's always a sales pitch. We get that, right? Well, it was always a sales pitch. But I was at awe, with the uniform, with his presence. We talked about his travel around the world. And I knew right there at 17 and a half that I needed an attitude adjustment. Young youth, and I knew that I needed more. Right. And I wanted to get out of my community and do other things and experience the world. So I viewed the Marine Corps, the military, as the ticket to really get into manhood and develop myself as a young man.
Right.
Got into the Marine Corps, Parris Island, South Carolina, first duty station was at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, Fox 22 infantry unit. So did 4 years there, served time over in Okinawa, Japan, Philippines, and of course, Kuwait. So that was a great experience. It was a natural experience. I learned a lot about leadership. I learned a lot about people. But one thing that happened, Mario, was just me getting out. I decided to get a Marine Corps. My mom was ill at the time, so I just kind of made this command decision. But when I made the command decision, I didn't do the calculus right. I found myself out of the Marine Corps after Desert Storm 1. And I thought to myself that I'm honorably discharged. I've been in a combat environment. I have small unit leadership. I should be able to get a job. And that there was the trap. And that trap is called a fixed mindset. I had a fixed mindset that I'm gonna be good to go, that I could just get out of the Marine Corps and I'm gonna get hired. Not knowing that that fixed mindset was the trap, and you really have to have a growth mindset backed behind execution and planning. So when I got out of the Marine Corps and went back home, there was no resources that was really available to me for the transition. So I always had this national permanent interest in national security. Just didn't know how to get there. And back home, I did a lot of, just odds and ends and just working, just day-to-day jobs. And so my mom was kind of ill, and then she passed 95 of cancer. And so at that time, there was really nothing there job-wise. I couldn't meet my goal in that environment, in that community. So I took a leap of faith, Mario, and went down to Washington, D.C., to a new city, to a new world, a new environment, a very rich environment for the national security community.
So let's talk about, that, and sorry for the loss of your mother, by the way. There's no words that can take away any of that. The memories, pain, and of course I've lost my mother, but I just want to add that to this special episode. But let's talk about that. You made a decision. You made it was a choice. And you chose, I'm going to get out of the Marine Corps, go back to Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to, and by the way, Phil's family from Pennsylvania. So I got a special place in my heart for Pennsylvania. But you go back to Pennsylvania, try some odd jobs, mom passed away. And then you decide, I have this, this interest in kind of national security. So I am going to go from Pennsylvania to Washington, D.C. Did you know anyone in Washington, D.C. when you did this?
Only person I knew was my sister, and I had 2 cousins. And that was the support group. Very light. They were in school, they had their own lives. And so I was able to kind of move in with my sister, right? Now I'm the older brother, right? She's younger. So as a man, right? as a man, and my dad taught me about, being a grown man, being a grown adult. I didn't care for it too much, but she made an offer and said, you can come and get the couch, right? So, hey, on it. So I get to the Maryland area, and I tell you, at that point, had to feed myself, right? It's about survival. So I worked for a tent company, right? And I was putting shingles on roofs, in the hot blazing sun.
Wow.
I remember, on the truck, Mario, where you have the boom going up to the roof, and then there's these levers, and you put the bag of shingles on each lever and just keep it going, because you got to do 200 houses by 5 o'clock, right? And I was working with this one guy, and he was from Alabama, I believe. And he was just rolling. He was just going through it. And I think I put a shingle on the belt, but the shingle broke open and the shingles was all over the place. And he said, hey man, you got to move faster. I felt like a grunt again, right? Right? But I had to feed myself. That was the temp company. The temp company said, we'll give you that job. And so kind of did that. Then I got into like nightclub security, right? I started doing nightclub security. So basically I was working like 3-4 jobs.
Wow.
Just ends meet, without really my own apartment, without my own credit being built. It was just really in survivor mode. I did valet parking at a restaurant in DC called Old Ebbitt Grill. And I remember just being out there in cold nights and people throwing you the keys and you got to go get the car. So during this whole time, I said to myself, like, okay, I'm in this big fishbowl, Washington, D.C. What's my pathway into national security? Because there was a point where my sister says, hey, okay, I'm moving. You got 30 days, good luck. So I remember I called my uncle, former Marine. He left home at 14 years old. He recently passed away. And I said, hey, uncle, I want to go to California, come to California and push trucks, drive trucks, because he was a truck driver. He said, are you kidding me? You have never said anything about trucks. I said, well, what's going on out there? I said, it's just tough. And, I'm just odd jobs and just trying to make it. He goes, well, you have all your faculties. I said, correct. No medical issues, correct. So all you need is grit, like the Marine Corps taught you. I said, yes. He said, so work those 3 jobs and put a plan into action. I'm not letting you come to California. You need to stay there and fight for your goal, fight for your dream, your aspirations, right? So we hung the phone. I was mad. I was mad because I was looking for a way out, right? And so kept working these things, right? Just odd jobs. And I remember I had to find a room to rent, and I found one in a neighborhood that was distressed, and met the lady. It was an apartment, her own apartment. And she goes, okay, you can stay here for $90 a week. I will not give you a key. Don't touch my refrigerator. And don't be late with my $90. I said, okay, so how do I get into the house? She goes, when I get home. So I'm sitting outside, 5 o'clock, getting off work and waiting for her to come home at 9 at night. Just sitting outside on the stoop, right? Just about 6-8 months. And so I remember one day she opened the door, she gets home, open the door, I walk in. And then I go to the room. I was sharing a room with her son. And he was about 17, big guy, and was a bunk bed, Mario. And so he's in the top bed, I'm on the bottom. And he would get up into the bed and the mattress would sink. And I saw the springs. And the springs were like maybe a foot from my face. And he would snore. And I said, right then and there, where are you going? What is going on, Ellis Craig?
Yeah, and Ellis, and I love how you talked about your emotions, as you made this move up to Maryland and the Washington, D.C. area. And, on our Talk podcast, again, it's about, thinking through things, thinking to improve the outcome of the situation. And here you are, you have this emotion where, and by the way, everyone, Natasha is his sister, previous episode, she's amazing. Matter of fact, I think Ellis is making her coffee in the morning, but but seriously, and like you said, you were raised with this belief system, men provide, and here it is, your little sister saying, hey, I have a couch, and your emotions like, this is stupid, I shouldn't be doing this, and then how you thought through that, which now got you to, you're in a situation where you have this, we'll just say 7'5", 17-year-old, if you will, because we know he wasn't Mario size,
right?
But I wanted to highlight that because you see how it improved somewhat the situation when you thought through those emotions. And so now here you are, you're waking up and you're going, all right, man, we got to do something. Talk to us.
Right. So at that point, and I always see these springs, I said to myself that the reason why I'm here, because I'm not poor. Poor is a distressed mindset, right? It's a mindset. I've been in countries like Philippines where I saw what poor looked like, but I was economically broke. And that very moment, I said, I'm going to change this. And I knew I had to get out of this environment. I needed a 1-bedroom apartment for me. So I did find that. And when I found that, Mario, here's what I did. In that 1-bedroom apartment, I dedicated myself every day to push-ups, sit-ups, reading motivational books, and making a promise to myself, I won't be economically broke. I will get into the national community arena, right? I'll be successful. And success is different for everyone.
Yeah.
And so being in that space, here's what I did in that space. I went dark for 6 to 8 months. And what I mean by that is no clubs, really try to limit contact with the world, work, save, stay focused, and execute. So what happened was when I stayed focused and I started to execute, what I mean by executing, just getting some money, right? Getting a little savings going, feeling decent about myself, right? You know, doing a lot of reading on national security. And here's one thing I did that really changed my paradigm. I would listen to C-SPAN. What? Anything national security. Anything national security, right? Because I said, if I want to be it, I got to live it. I got to see it. I got to hear it, right? And so went through that dark period, got my footing, if you will, right? And then I saw this job announcement, just came out the blue in the newspaper. At the time, it was just in the newspaper. Veterans encouraged to apply.
What was that again? That was what, 1960?
1997, 98-ish, right?
You know, Ellis and I, we always put humor.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And I applied, right? And it was a federal government job. And so I applied. My DD-214 was the ticket in. And they'll train you up, you know, top secret clearance and all that good stuff. And so I got the job. I felt proud. I felt relieved that I had a benefit package, right? You know, like healthcare, dental, and retirement, right? But there was another challenge within that system. I'm in this law enforcement engagement arena, but I said the national security intelligence apparatus is where I want to go. So I had to really learn the trade craft first, right? Get mentors, talk to people, engage people, you know, kind of put in my work, put in that body of work. And so I had mentors that I seeked out. And I think as veterans, transitioning veterans, you have to be honest with yourself sometimes. And I came to the table talking to these mentors with humility and said, I don't know.
Right.
Here's my resume. I don't know if it's right or wrong. Here's my elevator pitch. I don't know if it's right or wrong. So being vulnerable, because it's hard to be vulnerable when you're a Marine. One of your mentors got a lanyard, he's a Marine, and he's a sergeant major, and you're very cautious on how you communicate with that sergeant major because you don't want to look ill-equipped, right? You know, and so I had these areas of vulnerability, and I would tell the people that are listening to this that there's a whole variety of people out here that is willing to help, whether it's veterans or non-veterans or whatever community that you're in. And I think what's important is to come to those engagements with the attitude that I don't know, and will you help me?
Right.
I've removed that hardcore barrier that I can charge the hill by myself, right? Because I tried to charge it by myself and it didn't work. I thought the medals, I thought the America would say, I thank you and I'm gonna give you a job. Corporate America does not give you a job because you served. So that was that fixed mindset I had. So I turned it into that growth mindset and saying I have to add value. So I outworked my peers on the job, right? Then I got into saying, okay, I need to leave. After you kind of get comfortable in your world, my mentor said, hey, you need to leave this agency and go to another agency.
Right.
Get more experience.
Right.
So I did that. I started moving around. But when I moved around, Mario, another vulnerability was I moved around to these different agencies, but my network was at the last agency. So I felt alone again. You know, I had the job, maybe 40K, 50K, but I was in a new environment like NASA, scientists and engineers. Where's my mentor? Where's my safety net? There wasn't one. So there was a point in my career where I just kind of gradually matured and graduated into a place that you are good enough, come to the table with your credibility, take all the traits and all the skills and capabilities you learned in the Marine Corps, take all the stuff that you learned from your parents and just show up at work and outmaneuver your peers, outmaneuver your colleagues. And then it hit me, do that. And if they like you, if people like you, most likely they'll help you. It's called the likability attribute, right?
Yeah. So during all of this, all of the wonderful choices that you made, and I love how you mentioned the importance of building your network with mentors. Um, was there a point where you experienced an emotion or emotions where you felt like um, you're not, you're not successful enough. You started comparing yourself to people that's been in the NASA industry or
Yeah.
these other industries. You're going, okay, I'm just not there. Have you ever experienced that challenge, and how did you think through that?
Yeah, I have. So I'll fast forward and spend time at the Pentagon. And I was in this policy shop, and one of the unique skills or technical skills was writing utility, the ability to write at executive level. That's what I lacked, right? And so I remember I had to kind of produce this writing sample, for work. It was a draft document. And in writing that and putting that together, Mario, yeah, I felt that, I don't know if this is going to meet the mail, right? And so once I, gave that product to my senior leader, and at the time, this senior leader was Mr. Jeffrey Bear, retired Colonel Marine Corps. Last I heard, he was stationed at Quantico, but he was the SES at the Pentagon. And I gave him this product to review, and it was a Friday night, I believe. And I knew, giving him that product, that it didn't answer the mail. I knew that the context wasn't there. I knew the framework wasn't there. I just didn't have that writing experience at that level. I had that technical and operational writing capability. And but here's one thing that he did. He said, it was Friday night, Friday evening. He said, "Hey, you got a second before you go home?" I said, "I do, sir." He broke out the red pen, grabbed the document, kind of made his notes, reorganized, did some soft organizing. But he did ask me, "Well, why did you think about this? Why did you think about that?" And we kind of went through the drill. And then here's one thing he told me. He said, "Hey, I want you to really tell me, how you got to this finished product. What was the framework? How'd you do that?" And he said, "Be open with me." And I said, "Well, I described, how I got from point A to point B in writing this product. It was a classified product, right?" And so we went through that drill, but he spent time with me. And after we left, about an hour later, I had built this new confidence to be able to write at the executive level, to build these one pagers for executives. So it really, I was scared about taking on the task, but after having that conversation with my senior leader, he did what leaders always do. It's okay. You got a vulnerability here. Let me walk you through this. So I embraced that conversation. I took it back with me. I learned from it. So in the Intel community, yeah, writing utility is big, and that could be scary. Briefing capability is big, and that could be scary. That was another area that I had to overcome. I had this presence. Managers saw this presence in me and say, "Hey, we'll put you in front of the undersecretary or front of senior leadership to communicate this out." And of course, fear is always in place, right? But you have to embrace that fear. And I said to myself, public speaking? I'm an infantry guy. I mean, I'll put the package together in backseat. No, we want you to brief. So that was a struggle for me. And I knew if I was going to be in the Intel community, working as an XO, executive officer, supporting senior leaders, that's part of the job. And so I got into those rooms, and I stayed in the cockpit, Mario. I stayed in the cockpit.
Yeah.
Right? And I gave that presence to the senior leadership. I looked them in the eyes, I spoke with confidence. And if I didn't know something, I said I didn't know, right? But there was some tough times briefing senior leaders where, yeah, I was afraid. But
Right. Yeah.
after repetition over and over again, and then getting feedback, I got good at it, you know.
Yeah.
Now I
Yeah.
can.
Well, I could talk to you forever, but I know you've helped me so much and you're having so much fun doing what you do for our nation. So because if not, I'll hijack you.
Yeah,
But before I let you go, looking back from going from this 17-year-old kid
yeah, yeah.
who asked the Marine recruiter, "Are you hiring?" and, and then your journey in the Marines, and then going from Pennsylvania to Maryland to the Washington D.C. area, going into an industry that you have no idea kind of what you're getting into, living on a couch, and man, looking back at all of that to where you are today, and everyone, by the way, and I'll let Ellis tell you guys how you guys can find them and you guys can learn more. But now looking at you today, if you had to pick one thing
Mhm.
to give not just a transitioning service member, but anyone, what one piece of advice would you give them?
To a transitioning service member.
Or anyone, not
Anyway,
just a transitioning service member, anybody.
yeah, I would say this. You know, life is hard. It's going to be hard. Um, I think for me, and to pass this on to the community, would be, I think, attitude, like your attitude toward life and day to day. There's times, Mario, where I don't want to work out, right? I don't want to work out, but I fool myself. I go, let's just do 2 miles on the treadmill instead of 5. And let's
Right.
do 20 push-ups instead of 50. And you know what happens? Once you get into that workout, you get pumped and you do more. So I would tell people that hell with motivation. Why? Because motivation's fleeting. It goes away. It ebbs and flows. The real ticket to my success and anyone's success, because it integrates back and forth, no matter what spectrum of the world you're on in corporate America, is discipline. Discipline. I found discipline to be the key to success, whatever you want to do, right? And that is sticking with the plan day in and day out. And one thing I've learned, I don't tell people what I'm doing all the time. I set my goal because I don't need anyone telling me that I can't reach that goal or their own perspectives about why you won't reach the goal. Go in the dark, do the work, have the discipline. And if you are the smartest in your circle, we all know this, right? Find another circle, get
Yeah.
another, right? Get another orbit. And then lastly, I would tell everyone, you can be technically sound, you can be highly educated. If you're not likable, if you can't integrate into the team, you won't win. The reason
Yeah.
I win in
Yeah.
life, because people like me, I have humility, and also I want to give back. I'm always trying to help people. And when you're helping people and you're bringing value to any organization or value into your community, your local community, it gets noticed and the doors do open up.
Right. Well, everyone, you guys heard it. Attitude starts everything. It's a choice. It's grounded by discipline, your authenticity to want to care. Give back, be a contributor to your community. But everything, all these amazing things Alice mentioned, starts with attitude. And I
Yeah,
love that. And I think I heard a saying that says altitude is the attitude and attitude is the altitude. And Alice is giving that to us. You can invoice me. I'll pay it next year for those
you know
tips.
what? Yeah, and one thing, Mario, I just want to integrate this into the conversation. So after all this that we discussed, and my favorite highlight in my pastime is I'm a career readiness instructor with 4Block. 4Block is a nonprofit to help.
And and that's what I was gonna tell you, Alice. How can they find you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you can go to 4block.org and click on staff. You see me there. Connect on LinkedIn as well. but to be able to stand in front of 06s and below and walk them through a transition, it's just full circle. It's full circle for me. Yeah.
Nice. And connect with Ellis on LinkedIn too, you guys.
Yep.
He is a wealth of knowledge. And if you're transitioning out there, I don't even care if you're transitioning, you're not in the military and you're transitioning. Ellis Craig, he's helped me a lot. And so I know he can help you guys. Ellis, thank you so much, my friend. Please tell Natasha I said hello. And again, if you ever need anyone to answer your phones or run your social media, Nicole and I, we're here. We'll do our targeted resumes.
Absolutely. Targeted resumes. That's right. Elevator pitches. That's right, Mario. Yeah, we got to stay after it. Yeah. And thank you so much for hosting me today. This is awesome.
I appreciate it. Well, everyone, until next time, you guys know the deal. Don't forget, again, if you want me to say thank you on the loyal fan shout out, and I look forward to doing that, hit me up at host@unarmoredtalk.com. That's host@unarmoredtalk.com. Until the next episode, God bless you all. God bless your families and friends, and be safe.